I'm good, thank you.
That's good.
That's good, yes.
I'm listening to everything you are saying.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad you could be here tonight. You are the father of modern psychology and psychiatry, and you're a medical doctor, and I respect that a lot.
Thank you.
No problem. But I have to say, I disagree with you on certain points. Where I disagree with you is that you describe the insane as absent-minded in some way. You make it seem as if it's their fault for going crazy, almost as if they chose in some way. Got it? Yeah. Okay. Almost as if they chose it in some way. I noticed that you're really good with neurotics, the depressed, the uptight, those who are suffering in some ordinary way. But for psychotics, you're kind of intolerant. Why is that?
Well, I wouldn't call myself intolerant. I just find them harder to deal with.
Oh. Why so?
Because they refuse to organize their thoughts coherently. They fly from reality into fantasy and are therefore unreachable.
So is it their fault? Like they just can't cope with reality, so they give up on organizing their world the way we do? Like they're weak or something?
Well, there's an element of weakness involved. A weakness in that they cannot cope with reality. A weakness of will.
And they trade the dream for reality.
That's it! Insanity is a dream that has come to replace reality.
So the person is a dreamer. Like they're in a dreaming state of lowered awareness.
That's why they are so hard to reach, Russell. To this world they are blind. It is as though they are at the center of a massive drama and live in a fictitious position in a fictitious world.
But according to your theory, how did they get there? You make it sound like the dream is more pleasant than reality, so they deny reality altogether.
Precisely. The neurotic does what he can to deny the pain and angst. But the psychotic denies rational ways of looking at the world, and in doing so flies into his own grandiose fantasies. The energy that is normally invested in the world is directed to the ego, and they become grandiose and elevated. And this is weakness, a weakness of will. They substitute the world of fantasy for reality. They turn away from reality to fantasy and illusion.
And is that because they couldn't handle it?
That's it. They experience a moment of weakness and give into fantasy.
Well, what if I were to tell you that you're wrong? That the turn is not away from reality, but towards it? That your theory has it backwards?
I would ask you to say what you mean.
Well, what I mean to say is that you've just got it backwards. A person whose mind is breaking down doesn't turn away from reality, but back towards it. Reality breaks down. That is to say, they have a moment of stupor, a death of the mental life inside, and then when they break out of the stupor, reality has extra features, those of fantasy. There was a breakdown of reality before the turn, and then the turn is not away from reality, but back into it again.
Just what do you say?
I'm saying that there's no attempt to turn away from reality or to substitute it for something easier, and no weakness involved. There's only the breakdown of reality into catatonia and the thrust back into it.
So is the stupor the catatonia that stimulate the psychotic reaction?
Yeah, exactly. The emptiness of catatonia, just staring at the wall and unable to move it mentally, is agonizing. The emptiness is horrible, and it is the horror of the mind emptying that makes it fill up again with the crazy stuff. So it's not that the insane turn towards delusions because the fantasies are so tempting, pleasant in some way, but just that they don't want to be empty anymore. Being frozen mentally is unbearable. Being empty inside is unbearable. So the mind comes to save itself. It needs the delusion to break out of emptiness, to fill in the empty state.
So the big story breaks the empty state, and they can be in the world again?
Exactly. Do you see now how you have it backwards? Are you ready to abandon your theory of the weakness of will and the turn against reality?
Not at all, my good sir. I still think my theory speaks of the facts, and you might just be delusional.
Well, I may be, but you are a 200-year-old ghost, and psychology has made a lot of progress since you. The facts need to be reinterpreted, and if you can't get with the program, then maybe it is you who is delusional.
Me? Delusional?
Yeah. And I would go further to say that you're crazy. That you've done a good job to set the precedence for all the therapists that came after you. They're all crazy. And the really good ones are really crazy.
Ah, crazy. That I am. I have always been crazy as in my own passions.
Then I suppose I am crazy too.
My friend, I knew that from the moment you started talking to a puppet.
Okay, so let's just check the time.